seriously, hot sauce. I've been eating a lot of hot sauce, a lot of raw peppers and hot sauce.
I am not up to the job. And I mean that sincerely. It's not like, whoa.
Brandon, I agree.
They had a very bad original concept. It was carried out poorly, and the cover-up was one of the worst in the history of cover-ups. Very simple. Bad deal, should have never been thought of. Somebody really messed up. And they had the worst cover-up ever. And where it should have stopped is at the deal standpoint when they thought about it.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree.
But I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
Here's the polls, Jack. You guys are all the same.
It's not a fetish. It's not a fetish. That's a term like, I just love information.
kiss every guy, man and woman, man and woman. Look at that guy, how handsome he is. I'll kiss him. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room. Running against the worst candidate in the history of presidential politics puts pressure on me. Can you imagine if I lose my whole life? What am I going to do? I'm going to say, I lost to the worst candidate in the history of politics. I'm not going to feel so good. Maybe I'll have to leave the country. I don't know.
Hello, users, and welcome to another episodic installation of the Above It All program. This is December 8th in the year 2022. I have a special guest appearance from Max the dog, who's currently walking in circles around me at this current moment. Hello, Max. Any recommendations for wine hangover? I had one too many. Drink water, dumb fuck. That is my official hangover cure. As you know, I've never had a hangover in my life. And it's because I have OCD in regards to drinking water. I panic when I don't have any water within me, within arm's reach. You know, I got seltzer counts. And this is something I developed as a health mechanism. 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated, which is the dumb fuck optional. The dumb fuck is not optional; it's necessary. Without the dumb fuck, the rest of it falls apart. But drink some water. I know a lot of people are scared of water. Oh, doesn't taste good. Oh shit, really? So. I know, I don't know. I've never had a hangover before. I drink a lot of water. People tell me it's because I drink too much water. I say you're not drinking enough water. So, but anyway, there you go, Glam Girl Adel. I would say I feel your pain, but I don't. I've never had a hangover. Now I will say this. Every once in a while, now I drink so much water, right? I wake up in the middle of the night and like I pee like 3 times a night. And it's because I drink a lot of fucking water. And especially when I drink alcohol, a lot of alcohol. I'll wake up and go pee in the middle of the night. But before I go to sleep, I try to have like a giant ass mason jar, you know? Like one of these, like just big ass, you know, full of water. Right next to my table. Just, you know, I wake up in the middle of the night and get some goddamn water. It's easy to get a hangover from wine. I disagree. I've been, not gonna lie, y'all, wine has been my alcohol of choice for the last like 6 months or so. Max, what the fuck are you doing? I've been consuming a lot of wine, still haven't had a hangover. The only time I've had anything remotely related to a hangover was when I tried to kill myself by drinking vodka. And I was feeling pretty bad for a couple days. But it was, I don't know, it wasn't really head pain. It was more like liver and stomach pain. But that's a different story. Anyway, this is the Above It All show. We got a show going on. And today we're going to be jumping in. We're going to be talking about COVID. I know. Jesus fucking Christ. the goddamn bitch. I go one day without talking about it, and now I got so much more to say. But I've got an interesting article that I want to go into. Going to be talking about Brittney Griner, who has theoretically, at least according to the news, should be on a trip back to the United States of America and or has already landed. I'm not sure yet. And more. We're going to be talking about the New York Times strike, just going in. But anyway, I went to the doctor yesterday. I had a very pleasant experience. And it's all good. And so there's your update. I am alive, though. I want to get some tests done. I don't know. I haven't been to a doctor in quite a while since the pandemic started. I haven't really done any exams, so I'm gonna go through the medical system. So that's great. But yesterday I tried a new alcohol, new to me anyway. One of my favorite, if not my favorite, creme liqueur is called Amarula, or as I like to call it, elephant flavor, because it is based on the fruits that elephants eat. And I love Amarula. It's from South Africa. But they got a new flavor that I saw at the alcohol store, and I was dipping into that. They have a coffee flavored version, so I was dipping into that yesterday. Might have some more today. I'm not sure. That's my alcohol recommendation for today. But of course, I don't recommend alcohol. It's bad for you. So, and there you go. So, that's my update. Man, we'll be jumping into the news. Jumping in. Gonna be jumping in. I'm jumping. Jumping in. Does anyone know about jumping in? I will say this one more thing on the alcohol. Oftentimes when I drink alcohol, I combine it with marijuana. And I would say like 80 to 90% of the time, I combine it with marijuana. And so marijuana, you get like the cotton mouth symptom. So maybe it's worth it. Just, not just to get high, right? Getting high is one thing. But like just so you get the cotton mouth and then you remind yourself to drink some water. You know what I mean? Anybody? Is this thing on? Hello? Is it on? Okay. But anyway, so that's my recommendation. Of course, I'm not recommending that if you live in an illegal state, which I don't. So there you go. A signed copy of the Letterhack sketchbook last night. A signed motherfucking copy. Holy shit. Brew Callaway. I've never been high, actually. Well, I suggest looking into it and doing your own research. Anyway, I'm glad everyone's having a good time, or not. The people that are having a bad time, I guess, just aren't here. So, shout outs to the people that couldn't make it this morning. They're having a bad time. How do you know that they're having a bad time? Because they didn't make it. So, my New Year's resolution is to floss 12 a.m. Blam, blood everywhere. Oh. I hate, like, sometimes when I brush my teeth, or if I don't floss too often, I'm going to be honest. I floss, maybe once every couple months. But anyway, every once in a while, you brush too hard and you spit it out and it's like, oh, great, I'm bleeding. Sometimes now that the weather is getting cold where I am, well, it has been for the last month and a half or so, sometimes I get, throughout the night sometimes, when I wake up, I'll blow my nose. Anyway, the other night, I woke up and there's just like a bloody rag next to my bed, and I'm thinking, why is there a bloody rag next to my bed? What happened? And then it took me a couple minutes to deduce that it was because I blew my nose, and because it's cold or whatever. It's something, I don't know. I think in the cold weather, if you blow your nose too hard, you're more likely to bleed because, like, I don't know, something like that dries out. I don't know. Anyway, this is I don't even know what's going on here. If you don't flush all that garbage, stays in between your teeth and goes up to your gums. I've been flossing since I was a kid and I have perfect teeth. Well, my dental hygiene schedule is not so great. I haven't been to a dentist since I was like 7 years old. And I also went for a couple years without doing any teeth brushing when I was a teenager. So there you go. Never had any tooth issues though. I had that weird like gum issue, I guess. I don't know, like a fucking sore in the back of my mouth a couple months ago, but goddamn. Anyway, I gotta floss more. Not flossing leads to bad breath. What even is bad breath? I don't know, what is bad breath? Like where you go, like in that episode of SpongeBob SquarePants, you know? What do I have? Can you smell me right now? No, bitch, you can't fucking smell me. Bad breath. What do I care? I don't leave the house. Got badass breath. Oh, Christ. Yeah, I gotta floss more. Anyway, let's jump in. I want to start today's show by talking about, this is an article I found. It's not really an article. It's more of like a write-up about, it's not an opinion piece by this person, but it's an article written about this person's opinion, because that's, I don't know. But anyway, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Anyway, you may know the individual Francis Collins, who is a medical person, also one of the people that discovered the Human Gene Project, that kind of shit, that made a lot of progress on that. Or, many people have said that, he takes credit for things that maybe he didn't have too much of a big deal but you know what, whatever, that's a different story. But this guy is an evangelical Christian, right? Francis Collins, evangelical motherfucking Christian. This guy's a freak show, right? You'd be thinking, like, what the fuck? The people that, like, discovered the human genome are fucking Christians? I know, right? Can you believe that shit? I can't. But anyway, so this guy's talking about the culture war. Quote, "Our culture war is killing people," says former NIH director. Again, he's talking about this from the evangelical Christian perspective, which I think is interesting, even though I think that this is, evangelical Christians are typically, on average, extremely horrible people, and also really fucking stupid. But at this point, again, high school dropout, head of the NIH and Human Genome Project guy, you know what I mean? So anyway, but let's see what they have to say. So this is an article written about his opinion. So that's the language here. It's not him writing this, but Francis Collins, MD, PhD, former director of the NIH and current science advisor to President Biden, spoke about Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter, his distress over evangelical Christians driving vaccine hesitancy, and why clinical trials for long COVID are taking so long during a Washington Post live event on Tuesday. COVID misinformation abounds on social media. Collins noted that Musk, quote, a free speech absolutist, dropped Twitter's ban on COVID misinformation last week, characterizing the potential impacts as pretty obvious. Now, again, Elon Musk famously or infamously, if you, in 2020 said that COVID would be gone by April of 2020, is now in charge of what is and is not COVID misinformation. Think about that. The guy who said COVID would be gone by April of 2020 is now telling us that we don't need to listen to anybody else on COVID. So, a little crazy. Quote, "There is an unprecedented tragedy that has unfolded here, where misinformation has not been just a blow to the ability of people to discern the truth, but it has been a fatal blow," he said. An estimated 300,000 people died because they passed over And now this is my favorite part. This is the thing that I've been saying for years now. I guess that we've had the vaccine for almost 2 years. An estimated 300,000 people died because they passed over a, quote, free, safe, and effective vaccine. Think about this, right? I supported Bernie Sanders in 2016 and 2020. I voted for him both times. I worked, I tried to do a lot of campaign work in 2020. And I used to believe that most Americans actually wanted free health care. I no longer believe that. I'm going to be honest. I don't believe Americans want free health care. I don't. Because if they did, they would get vaccinated. Tell me, describe to me this person who supports free healthcare, and the one example where we have free healthcare that's safe and effective and useful, and a majority of Americans, not even a super majority of Americans, don't bother with it. I think, again, I read a study or a whatever. It's not a study, I guess, but a statistic that said about 15-ish% of people have gotten the bivalent COVID booster shot. Isn't that crazy? 15% of the country. I used to think, damn, free healthcare, that's a duh. That's what I used to think. I was naive. But at this point in my life, I am convinced the American zombies are so fucking goddamn motherfucking stupid that not only do they not care about free healthcare for their family or for themselves, but they want other people to suffer as a result of their ignorance and stupidity. That's the only excuse that's the only reason I can think of for why only about 15% of the United States has gotten the bivalent booster shot. That's the only thing I can think of, is that Americans are just fucking stupid. They're just fucking stupid. They're just fucking stupid motherfuckers. And again, Francis Collins, all of his achievements, with all due respect, this guy is an evangelical Christian. If you don't understand what evangelical Christianity is doing to this country at this point, then you're a fucking moron. There is no such thing, my opinion is there is no such thing as general intelligence, right? You can be really good at one field and then be a complete Looney Tune on everything else. Kanye West comes to mind, right? Donald Trump, really good at stand-up comedy, really bad at everything else. Francis Collins, pretty good at science, really bad at everything else, right? So, again, this is a common theme here. And again, a lot of these people are religious. Religion is a mind virus. And, it's hard for me to take someone who has been infected with a virus for their entire life on their opinions on other kinds of viruses. But anyway, religion notwithstanding, I also can't help myself, but let's keep going. After misinformation clouded their judgment, he added, quote, "Our culture war is killing people, and misinformation often spread over social media is at least partially to blame." Asked what he would tell Musk if he had the opportunity to speak face-to-face, Collins embraced the hypothetical, quote, "So Elon, you've built your career on science. Why aren't you worried about a circumstance where the unbridled, demonstrably false information that is dangerous to people's health?" Now, again, this is another example of Francis Collins being a complete fucking moron. The idea that Elon Musk built his career on science, made up. He doesn't give a shit about science. You think Elon Musk is a scientist? He's not a scientist. You think he gives a fuck about scientific advancements? No, he doesn't fucking care. So what he does is he's a billionaire. He pays other people to create things that aren't even that interesting to begin with, and then takes credit for them, right? And again, most of his quote-unquote scientific achievements, again, all of them are just other people's things that he paid for the rights to brag about. But it's also, has he really advanced any sort of technological or scientific field? No, right? So this is a conspiracy theory. The idea that Elon Musk is in favor of any sort of science is a conspiracy theory. There's no evidence for it. He made it up, and people are too dumb, and they just don't understand propaganda. So again, but I don't want to bash on Francis Collins all the way here, but just bear with me. Where am I? Okay. Collins, an evangelical Christian, acknowledged that this demographic, specifically white evangelical Christians, are, quote, most likely to be suspicious and resistant to vaccines. If I found out that a group that I identified with was totally fucking bonkers on literally everything, you know what I would do? I would rethink my allegiance to that group. That's what I would do. Right? You know, it's that simple. Francis Collins, of course, not, he's not all the way there right now. Christians, of all people, are supposed to be people of truth. Quote, within a quote, the truth will set you free. The words of Jesus, John chapter 8. It's so upside down, and this for me is a source of great distress. Huh. Really? It's almost like religion itself is a bunch of fucking garbage. And again, the idea that this guy is like, oh, I'm an evangelical too, bro. Don't worry, bro. I'm going to teach these other evangelicals what disinformation really is, bro. Again, figure this out. This guy worked on fucking major discoveries in the human genome, and he's a complete fucking moron on everything else, right? But again, it's interesting. This is an interesting read, so. For this reason, he said he's tried to leverage his own background to reach this community by speaking on podcasts alongside other evangelical thought leaders such as Rick Warren, Franklin Graham, and Tim Keller. He even thought about writing a book on the subject until he was called to be the science advisor to President Biden. Misinformation is, quote, contagious. Really? Misinformation is contagious. Exhibit B, Christianity. What is Christianity? Misinformation? It's a mind virus. That's what it is. It's a cognito hazard, right? You learn about it and then it fucks your brain up forever because you're too dumb to get out of the fucking maze, okay? So this guy is going to talk about misinformation and he believes in God. Again, I know people are like, oh, why do you keep mentioning this? But I need you to understand, man, this is the shit that blows my mind. This is why we have so many fucking morons in this country, because these so-called good Christians, what they do, oh, Jesus is about the truth, bro. Just God loves everyone, bro. What they do is they allow the evangelical freak shows more oxygen in our country to breathe and to navigate in spaces. So that's why when Kanye West goes out there and does like, oh, Hitler is great, and then his rebound of, oh, I don't hate everyone. God is speaking through me to love all people, even Hitler, right? And then there's going to be a certain percentage of people like, oh yes, I believe in that. God wants everyone to be, and again, this is how disinformation spreads. Religion is ground zero for this shit. So again, talk about an epic fail from this guy, but again, he's done a lot more than I have. So, especially in our current environment where everyone has split into, quote, tribes of like-minded people that influence their perspective. People look at evidence through their own framework or web of beliefs. He added, again, you could take these exact quotes and talk about religion. People look at the human DNA through their web of beliefs. It must be God that created it. People look at the goddamn waterfalls and they think it must be God. They interpret the things that they see through their web of... Again, you can make this same exact argument against what he claims that he's an evangelical Christian. I didn't say he's an evangelical. He identifies as such. Right, so again, and this is why logic doesn't work with religious people. The motherfucker can literally, make a significant breakthrough progress on the human genome and still believes in God. Like, again, I'm telling you, man, this is why we are where we are. How the fuck can you see the motherfucking double helix and think it's God? It's crazy. Quote, if something comes at you that doesn't fit your web very well, you're going to find a reason to be skeptical or even just disregard it. And if something that comes at you is that's absolutely falsifiable, but it kind of fits your framework, you might as well then say, okay, I'll just send that to the next 10 people on my Facebook feed. Again, he could be talking about religion here. He could be. He could be talking about religion here. He's not. He's talking about COVID. And that's good. I'm glad that he is using his dumb fuckery status to try to speak to the other dumb fucks. Is that better than not doing that? Sure, maybe. But again, this is religious thinking. You can be a conspiracy theorist Looney Tune on one subject and on the other subject not be. He encouraged the use of stories and anecdotes rather than statistics to communicate science to non-scientists. Quote, I think there's an incredibly important role for an anecdote that actually well describes the data. Remember, what was it? Who is this, like, famous musician that had, like, the cousin with the big ball syndrome or some shit? Like, they got the vaccine and then their balls got big. I just want to say, doesn't sound like a side effect to me. That sounds like a, pretty good effect. Hey, I'm just saying, from my perspective. But, again, that anecdote spread like wildfire. Everyone was talking about the big ball syndrome, motherfucker, right? No one's talking about, fucking aunt fucking fuck who got COVID after getting 3 vaccinations and then, didn't die, but they're talking about big ball syndrome ass bitch. Okay, so again, anecdotes, it's true, are powerful in the same way that when someone is like, oh shit, an alien abducted me, that's a powerful anecdote to people that are open to that. When people say, oh shit, I was praying and Jesus was like, I see you, man, right? That's a powerful anecdote that when people are susceptible to that, right? So to illustrate the point, he shared the story of Josh Tidmore, a 36-year-old man from Alabama who belonged to an evangelical church with his wife, Christina. They both had read about concerns about the COVID-19 vaccine on social media and decided not to get it. Over the summer of 21. Both Tidmores contracted COVID-19. Christina got better. Josh, who had no pre-existing conditions, died in August, days before his birthday. I say 1 out of 2, not a bad start. When his wife told others in their church what had happened and urged them to get vaccinated, she was, quote, pretty much ostracized, Collins said. That breaks the heart of anybody who hears that story. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Again, evangelicals, except for this guy, every evangelical minus Francis Collins, right, is going to see that and go like, damn right, Satan got to her. She was at a moment of weakness, right? Her best friend and partner and loved one died. And then in that moment of weakness, Lucifer climbed right in. That's what they're going to say. Why? Because they're fucking crazy. Evangelicals are fucking crazy. Right? It's that simple. It's that simple. It's not hard to understand. The challenges of conducting research on long COVID. Now, again, this is actually useful information. The NIH was given $1.15 billion for a study on long COVID, but the patient community has been frustrated by the lack of progress, said Francis Stead Sellers, a senior writer for the Washington Post who interviewed Collins. Collins said he regularly gets emails from discouraged people who are suffering from brain fog, palpitations, and fatigue. 3 things I don't want to get. Quote, and in the challenge, of course, this is really hard. This is a really hard and complicated problem. It is maybe not even just one disease. We don't understand the mechanism behind it, he noted. Clinical trials are just beginning, but even those may not have results until 24. He added, moreover, one lesson learned during the COVID pandemic. During the COVID pandemic, by the way. Like, during one lesson learned, right? Okay, again, English lesson. I know, a lot of people might not know the English language here. Even in articles, again, this is Med Page Today. Even in articles written by scientists, written by people in the medical field, even in I know, it's crazy. I know. Even in this shit, COVID, pandemic, denialism, it seeps in. It seeps in. It's like you got a crack in your roof, right? And then it rains, right? And then the water, gets into the attic, and then, it swells up, and then you got the fucking drip from the ceiling. It seeps the fuck in, right? Learned. What is learned, right? Learn is the past tense of learn, right? Learned, right? In elementary school, I learned that 2 + 2 = 4. Now, if I say, oh, I'm going to take an extracurricular community college course, and I'm going to learn about DNA. That would be future tense, going to learn. Or, so again, learned, past tense, right? It phrases and makes the whole sentence as in the past, as in this happened, as in we are not there anymore, right? We were there, and now we're somewhere else, okay? Even in a journal like MedPage Today, one lesson learned during the COVID pandemic was that after a, quote, whole bunch of clinical trials were put forward in a big hurry, most of them were small, underpowered, and you would not really have been able to get much of a conclusion, Collins said. I think what we learned from that Now, again, in this instance, learned actually useful, right? Because we are learning from the horrible lessons, from the early phases of the pandemic, and we can use that information to get us out of this pandemic, theoretically. What we learned from that is do it right. Likewise, with long COVID, you don't want to do a quick and dirty trial with something that maybe gives a hint of a result and then it turns out to be wrong. So again, I thought that this would be an interesting thing to talk about. Fundamentalist, complete fucking moron, IQ in the dumpster. Also, again, made extensive and heavy and impressive progress on the human genome. And so it's crazy. And again, the thing I want to talk about is there really is no such thing as general intelligence. You can be really good at a field and be terrible everywhere else. You can be an extremely good medical person, scientist. You can be an extremely good doctor. Ben Carson comes to mind. Does anyone remember Ben Carson? Remember that guy? Does anyone remember Ben Carson? Right? Brain surgeon. Right? Brain motherfucking surgeon. He was operating on motherfuckers' brains. And he is dumb as a fucking dumpster. That's been, I don't even know. I use the word dumpster a lot. But anyway, so again, these people are trying to figure this out, right? They're trying. How does DNA work within God's plan is as ridiculous as whatever COVID disinformation. And we just have to tackle faith-based beliefs, because that's what it is. COVID disinformation is faith-based. I have faith that this random person on Facebook who's 78 years old is telling the truth about their, big ball syndrome cousin or whatever the fuck, right? I have faith. There's no evidence. There's no data. There's no statistic. There's no study. I have faith that the COVID vaccine is bad for me. Is the same shit as I have faith that God is looking out for me. I have faith that the DNA double helix is part of God's plan, right? So again, all of it, the core, the root problem is faith, right? We got to look at real fucking actual studies, real world data. None of this fucking my cousin's big balls are we can't fucking deal with that fucking shit anymore. And again, Francis Collins, at his old age, I don't know if it's dementia, I don't know what it is. I mean, he's been fucking stupid his whole life in this regard, right? He still hasn't gotten it. Isn't that crazy? Think about this. Think about being 70 or 80 years old and you still believe in God. You haven't figured out one of the most basic fucking things about the world, society as it is, right? Think about this. Think about it. 70 years on this planet. I figured out God wasn't real when I was 12 fucking years old. I was sitting on my bedside table. I was praying to God, please, 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 right? God fucking didn't do anything. Ignored me. 12 years old, I figured out that motherfucker wasn't real. This guy's 70 or 80 and he still hasn't figured it out. I mean, that's crazy. That's fucking crazy. Anyway, also, again, it is true. The quote-unquote culture war is killing people. And Francis Collins is, whether or not he understands it, engaging in that culture war and not for good. So anyway, there you go. That's the COVID segment for today. I think I did less than half an hour, so not bad. Bill Maher used the term stupid smart person, I believe, for Ben Carson et al. Ironic coming from Bill Maher. Well, Bill Maher has got the other thing. He's the smart stupid person, right? Where he's a fucking moron, but every once in a while he comes up with a good joke, So he's the smart stupid person. Don't insult dumpsters. It's true. It's true. The only dumpsters I like are the cum dumpsters. Where are we at? Front stabbed his cousin or something. Who's front? What? I know way too many doctors and nurses who believe in God. It's bad in the South. Oh yeah, that shit's crazy. That's crazy. My pain doc believes the shit she reads on Facebook. That's why I switched to the PA. I don't know what the PA means, but that's crazy, man. Motherfuckers out there trying to diagnose you with a mental health crisis or whatever. Imagine if I found a therapist and that therapist was and I saw a fucking any sort of how religious people have this They have like a photo of like white Jesus on the wall and shit. Like you just see it, like maybe at their desk they got like that little thing with like the thing that sticks out and like the photo that balances on the desk, and they got like white Jesus holding out like Salvador Mundi ass motherfucker, right? I'd be like, oh, sorry, I can't have a conversation with you. I just can't. You know what I mean? It's just crazy shit. Peer pressure and family pressure keeps people religious. Yeah, absolutely. Dumb motherfuckers forcing other dumb motherfuckers to be dumb as fuck. What is PA? Pennsylvania? Personal announcement? Public announcement? What is PA? The PA. What the fuck does that mean? The PA. Personal assistant? Jesus. Physician's assistant. Okay. Jesus Christ. Y'all motherfuckers are killing me here. Then Garson told that weird story in a Fox interview and stopped and said, "My bags," and ran off. I think I remember that. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, here's an example of faith being useful. I have faith that my fellow humans care about our species and our planet. That could be a useful example of faith. But honestly, maybe not, because I don't believe that anymore. I used to believe that. 2020 version of me, like 2019 version of me, genuinely believed that most Americans, you know, maybe they were a little dumb, uneducated, ignorant, right? But they meant well and they cared about others. I no longer believe that. I no longer believe that. Right? So you could say having faith in your fellow human is useful, you know, because it makes you more social, it makes you more, but I don't believe it anymore. That was some fictitious garbage that I had thrown in my brain as a way to like make sense of the world. And I realized that that's not true. Most Americans don't care about themselves, let alone anyone else. And they're garbage. They're garbage. Again, a free, effective, it's free. Again, it's free, effective, life-saving vaccine. And 80% of the country is like, fuck it. I got one 2 years ago. I'm good. 80% of the country. We have free healthcare right now. It's here. It's the fucking, you know, it's the goddamn, like the Mayflower and shit. It has arrived. The free healthcare is here. And everyone in the country is like, nah, I don't need it. Jesus. Like, I mean, fuck my fucking face. Oh my God. Also, Environmental Coffee House, thank you for the $2 for the floss. I will be sure to go get some floss. I have faith in the heart of the cards. Oh, I agree. I started a project this year. I don't know if it's not really a project, you know, but it's you know, I'm rewatching the entirety of 4Kids dub Yu-Gi-Oh on mushrooms. And most recently I watched the Labyrinth part with the Paradox brothers in the Labyrinth Wall and Gate Guardian. And I'm not going to lie, man, watching this show, especially the 4Kids dub, you got to watch the 4Kids dub, especially, you know, kunai with chain, motherfucker, right? That shit on mushrooms. Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun. Oh, it's so fun. Because there's so many, like, colorful effects in that show. It's great. Anyway, I love Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan. I'm a big fan of the Yug. I got some more shit I want to talk about here, but Jesus Christ. So let's talk about this one. WNBA star Brittney Griner released from Russian detention in prisoner swap for convicted arms dealer. Think about this, by the way. Think about this, okay? This one's crazy. We have two people here. One of them, an arms dealer. One of them brought an empty marijuana peripheral on a plane. Empty. Paraphernalia. Other guy selling guns illegally So I'm just saying, right? It's but anyway, this is good news. WNBA star Brittney Griner has been released from Russian detention, President Joe Biden said Thursday, which is today. A source familiar with the matter tells CNN that the swap involves convicted Russian arms dealer Viktor Bout. The swap did not include another American that the State Department has declared wrongfully detained, Paul Whelan. Quote, she is safe, she's on a plane, she is on her way home, Biden said at the White House Thursday morning alongside Griner's wife, Sherelle. Quote, after months of being unjustly detained in Russia, held under intolerable circumstances, Brittney will soon be back in the arms of her loved ones, and she should have been there all along. Now, again, I would be remiss if I did not mention the war on drugs in the United States of America. How many people are in jail right now? Right now. For stupid ass bullshit? How many people are in jail right now for walking down the street with 3 joints in their fucking back pocket because they're going to go party with their friends? How many people right now are in jail because they have a garden in their backyard? How many people in this country right now have been imprisoned because there's a shoebox in their closet that contains medicine that they need in order to live properly and healthy lives? Right? How many people right now are in jail because their doctors prescribed them an addictive substance and then stole it from them in the height of their addiction and replaced it with nothing? And so they needed to go on the street and get something like heroin and then got caught with possession. Right now, how many people like that exist right now in this country? So again, I mean, all this shit, I mean, all of it's virtue signaling. All of it. Now again, Brittney Griner coming home. Awesome. Excellent news. Excellent motherfucking news. That's great. But think of all the people that died in prison because they had 1.1 ounces of weed in their backpack. Think of all the people that are going to die in prison because they had 1.1 ounces or they had 0.9 ounces, but the fucking cop put their thumb on the scale so it showed up as 1.1, which happens all the fucking time. Quote, this was not a choice of which American to bring home, Biden said. Sadly, for totally illegitimate reasons, Russia is treating Paul's case differently than Brittney's. And while we have not yet succeeded in securing Paul's release, we are not giving up. We will never give up. Now again, virtue signaling. Virtue signaling. Because this administration, right now, they've quote-unquote started the process on decriminalizing marijuana. They could just do it right now. They don't need to, there's no process that's necessary. The jury is in. That shit's fucking good, okay? It's better than alcohol in every conceivable way. It's healthier than alcohol in every conceivable way. So if alcohol is legal, if caffeine is legal, marijuana should be legal. But this country is, again, architect of the crime bill, which accelerated and exacerbated the war on drugs. Joe Biden. Throwing that out there. But anyway, so this is good news. I don't need to go into depth on this. But again, obviously, good news overall. But of course, the government is going to use this moment for propagandistic purposes in order to, just distract from the fact that they're committing thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands, tens and tens and tens of thousands and thousands and thousands of very similar, almost identical cases that they have power over, that they could stop and they could revert, right? So, I don't know, man. It's a little weird. It's like when Donald Trump pardoned that one woman or whatever that was like, that was part of like a drug deal but didn't really know, like, she was just given something and then she didn't know she was in a drug deal but she got arrested for it anyway, and then Donald Trump pardoned her and then made this big round, oh, look at me, we care about people, but he didn't do anything else. He didn't pardon anybody else. Just one person, right? Just for the PR, and then you're done. And that's exactly what Joe Biden is doing with this. He's using it as a PR stunt. And once again, it is, Joe Biden's kid. Joe Biden's kid should be in jail. Let's be honest. Hunter Biden should be in jail. Hunter Biden should be on death row. Why? He's a drug addict. That's not my opinion. That's Joe Biden's opinion. Joe Biden in the 1990s said that people that are drug addicts need to be off the streets. They need to go to jail for dozens of years. So, very interesting. Joe Biden already died. That's true, actually. Joe Biden 1 and Joe Biden 3 are dead motherfuckers. We got Joe Biden 2 right now. He's the only one. He's barely hanging on. Is there a Joe Biden 4? Did Joe Biden 3 get to have a kid and name them Joe Biden 4? Is there a 4th version? Or did 3 stop the family line? All right, I want to spend... Well, let's do this one. All right. So I've got an article here from The Nation. It's a website. Some people say it's a newspaper. I'm not sure about that. And it's about the New York Times strike. You may have heard this. There's a strike going on at the New York Times. A one-day strike. My opinion, one-day strike? Okay, but it's got to start somewhere. And I want to read this article. We are freelancers, but we're striking in solidarity with the New York Times employees. The resurgence of American labor organizing has relied on solidarity beyond the bargaining unit, and that's what we are offering. So this is a group of freelancers that are, using their position to engage in solidarity. Today, more than 1,100 unionized newsroom employees at the New York Times will walk out, refusing to work for an entire day. For the past 20 months, they've been bargaining with management over basic issues like keeping wage increases in line with inflation and maintaining employee pensions. These workers deserve a fair contract. As freelancers for the New York Times and organizers with Freelance Solidarity Project, the digital media division of the National Writers Union, more than 600 members strong, we and dozens of our fellow freelancers will be joining the one-day walkout in solidarity. Now again, one-day walkout? I don't know. Hey, gotta start somewhere. I hope they do more. To some, this may seem counterintuitive. After all, freelancers aren't full-time employees, and we aren't members of the New York Times Guild, the union representing the workers walking off the job, but we stand with our media colleagues who are fighting for what they're owed. The resurgence of American labor organizing has relied on solidarity beyond the bargaining unit in the same way that the Teamsters delivery workers have refused to cross the UAW 2865 picket line of 48,000 academic workers at the University of California and full-time faculty at the New School have stopped teaching classes in solidarity with their almost 1,800 striking part-time colleagues. We refuse to help the New York Times continue business as usual. So again, what happens when people go on strike is they try to get scab workers, people that are like, oh yeah, I'll go in there for a part-time gig for a couple weeks. And what is the biggest and largest pool of scab workers you could get? Freelancers that you're not even, they're not part of a union. You just, you send them a whatever, like a one-time payment or a one-time contract per story, right? But in this instance, these people are saying, no, fuck you, New York Times, which is good. It's crucial now more than ever that freelancers refuse to be used as scab labor. Serving as replacements when staff employees go on strike, the pitifully low rates offered to freelancers exist in part because media work overall has been so devalued. This also goes for the work of staffers at publications like The Times, which is among the few financially stable and profitable media companies, raking in $51 million in profit in the most recent quarter. Even after recently acquiring The Athletic, employees are seeking their fair share of the profits they've helped create. But bosses know they can easily supplant staff work with inexpensive freelance labor if we let them. The only way to improve working conditions for some of us is to improve working conditions for all of us. If we don't, the media will continue to consolidate and shrivel into a legacy industry populated solely by those with generational wealth needed to live in expensive cities on low salaries. So again, you can read the rest of this. But the New York Times strike, again, it's important. I don't care. A lot of people, they love to do this like, this strike is bad, this strike is good bullshit. Like, oh, the Netflix strike, bad, because Netflix workers are woke. The New York Times strike, bad, because the workers are woke. Whatever. That shit is fucking dumb. I don't care what the reason is. I don't care if the reason is fucking stupid, okay? Go on strike. Do it. Show the boss who's boss. It's important, right? We shouldn't even have hierarchical systems in government. We shouldn't have hierarchical systems in business. The idea that someone can make 200 times the salary of the people that actually are the entire reason why they even have money in the first place. Like, is anyone reading the New York Times because like the CEO is like such a special guy or whatever? No. Is anyone reading the New York Times because the editorial board is so incredible or like, is anyone reading the New York Times because the investors in the company are just so great? No. They're reading the New York Times because of the writers. Now again, I think the New York Times is a pretty garbage outlet. I'm not going to lie with you. I think the New York Times, overall, terrible piece of fucking shit outlet. Right? They've enabled war profiteering, bigotry, racism, transphobia, xenophobia. They've enabled all kinds of bigotry that you can think of, right? They've done anti-union propaganda for decades. But you know what? Now that they're on strike, this could be an opportunity. Maybe the New York Times will learn a lesson. Maybe some of the workers there will learn lessons that can be used to improve the quality of the newspaper. So again, obviously, big support, big solidarity with that. Wanted to mention that. All right, y'all. I want to end I don't know. This isn't news anymore. We're entering the making fun of stupid people phase of today's program, where this is a part of my show. I would say this is a news and politics show. This is a arts and culture show. But also, one of the important segments that I do on this show is making fun of dumb motherfuckers. The dumbest motherfuckers on planet Earth. And, I haven't talked about this particular dumb motherfucker in quite a while, but I think it's important. To be honest, I don't think it's important. I'm just gonna have fun here. This is funny. This is a victory lap for me. So, purely self-serving. Let's all laugh at this dumb motherfucker. You might be wondering, who am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about Jackson Hinkle, and Jackson Hinkle has a new conspiracy theory that I want to present to the rest of the class. And if you haven't heard this one yet, there's nothing I can say, okay? There is nothing I can say that can prepare you for what you're about to listen to. So again, this is ultra leftist, the most leftist guy in the history of the world, Jackson Hinkle, with a very interesting thing to think about.
In the chat. You're so cringe. You watch The Young Turks also? You watch like Vaush and Majority Report also? You believe that genes are real? Yeah. Lysenko, literally, Mendelian gene theory has been proven wrong. Lysenko was right. Lysenko was right. Show me a single hereditary unit of genes, please. Show me. Show me. Genes were created, the idea of genes, the theory of genes were created to supplant God. Like, that's why it's the same people. They think that human existence is nothing more than random atoms that are, like, bouncing together. Oh, genes are real. Genes are real. I stand with Ukraine and the gene believers. Okay. Okay. We believe science. We believe... Okay, well, what did Lysenko... What was Lysenko's science? It was correct.
I have one thing to say about this at this moment in time.
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
Okay, now again, there's 30 more seconds here. I don't know what else is going to go in. This motherfucker. This is, like, I saw this the other day. I'm not going to lie. I started cackling, right? I started cackling. What is this? Like, is he really this pathetic that and desperate for attention that he's going to appeal to, again, the God people? He's talking about how genes are made up to supplant God. What? What? Okay, genes are made up to supplant God. That's one thing. But this is flat earth territory. Just so y'all understand. This is flat earther territory. This guy is telling people on his show that the concept of genes are made up. And how do you know that someone watches TYT or Majority Report? They believe in the gene theory. They believe in the double helix. They believe in DNA. Now let's see what else he has to say, because there's 30 more seconds here.
My sixth grade bio teacher told me that genes were real. Jackson, you're wrong. You're wrong. Shut the fuck up.
Is this like his attempt at stand-up comedy or whatever? Because it's not so good. I'll be honest, it's not so good.
My sixth grade bio teacher was so fat she had to be in a wheelchair. Like, I don't trust anything she had to say about the human condition based upon that fact alone.
So, okay. Now, I'm going to be honest. I didn't listen to the last, 15 seconds of this beforehand, so this is news to me. So, sixth grade teacher, so fat she had to be in a wheelchair. Now, fat shaming, fat phobia aside, is it possible, think about this, that the cause and effect maybe is flipped? Maybe she had an injury. Now, again, I don't know this guy's sixth grade biology teacher. Okay, I'm going to be honest. It's possible that she is, in fact, so fat that she had to get a wheelchair. But most of the time, when people are overweight and in a wheelchair, it's because they have some sort of physical disability, right, that prevents them from being able to walk. And because they can't walk and they need a wheelchair, they often are more likely to gain weight. And again, I know it is possible that some people are physically fine and they just have an eating disorder, which doesn't make them bad people, right? But and also, what does that have to do? I don't know, man. But anyway, so I just want to, victory lap for me. About a year ago, this guy debated me. He was claiming that no one is to the left of him. He was claiming that everyone else that, isn't him is a right-winger. I supported Netflix workers going on strike and walking out. And he said that Netflix workers are woke and therefore the strike is bad. And that you have to be a right-winger to support Netflix or whatever. I don't know what the fuck. This guy has spent the last year. That was a year ago, by the way. Think about this. That was a year ago. This guy a year ago was the ultra-communist. Then he's the MAGA communist. And now he's a flat earther. So, think about that. If anyone's been watching my show for the last year, compare my show 1 year ago versus my show right now. Maybe you can use like a weekly average, right? But like, and compare Jackson Hinkle's shows a year ago to Jackson Hinkle's shows now. I mean, and what is this other shit? Like, I stand with Ukraine and believe in jeans.
That's why this is nothing more than random atoms that are like bouncing together.
What the fuck?
Oh, genes are real. Genes are real. I stand with Ukraine and the gene believers.
I can't, man. I mean, again, so I just want to say again, purely self-serving, right? Purely self-serving. I'm only talking about this as a victory lap. Yes, I debated this stupid ass dumb fuck shit for brains a year ago, and now look at him. I just want to say this. Now look at him. Hey, I'm not trying to take credit for this guy's mental illness, okay? But I debated him very conveniently. That was when he started his downfall. Very conveniently, after losing in a debate with me, he started going full MAGA, full, bigot. He hates transgender people. He hates gay people. He voted for Joe Biden in 2020, right? In 2021, he was the ultra-leftist, tanky, super communist. Now he's in QAnon territory. So again, victory lap for me. I don't even I'm not even think about this. I don't need to debunk this, right? I could actually debunk this. I choose not to. Why? It's a waste of my time. Debunking whatever this garbage is, citing some guy who's responsible for mass death and famine. I could debunk it. I could go into all of the history. But why bother? Everyone knows that this guy is a fucking moron. That would be a waste of my time to debunk it. It would be a waste of your time. I flipped these, my hand gestures, I flipped them. And it would make us all dumber for having to sit through it. So again, let's just laugh at the fucking moron and move on. So there you go. We got Zero Pain Elemental in the goddamn. What is up? Alrighty. That's pretty much it on the news and making fun of dumb fucks portion of the show. I want to do a couple of film reviews here. I got 2 film reviews I want to do. So I'm gonna go get these posters so I can have them on the screen. But if anyone has any questions, comments, or concerns, QCock, feel free to post them, and I will answer your questions and comments and concerns very soon. Let me just set up the film review segment. Goddamn fucking I stand with Ukraine and genes are real. Those are both very logical things. That shit's crazy, man. Crazy ass fucking shit. Alright, what do we got here? What is your thoughts on Zelensky using Azov battalion known Nazis as soldiers? My thoughts are I don't give a fuck. What are your thoughts on Hamas in Palestine using known bigots in their defense against Zionist expansion? What are your thoughts on the Taliban, known bigots, fighting off a U.S. invasion? Who cares? It's irrelevant. What movies will I be doing next? Well, you're about to find out. I harp on TYT a lot, but again, they spread misinformation and defund the police and abolish the police. Again? Jesus Christ. Didn't Didn't they have someone on there? To like debunk all their garbage? Who was it? That one person that was on Rising. Oliemi, right? Didn't she go in there? And I guess they learned nothing, so that's always good. I saw an ad on your Doom channel. Is that progress? No, I'm not getting paid for it. So the way YouTube monetization works, Abner, is YouTube runs ads on everything, right? By default. It's you need to hit a threshold in order for you to be allowed to make money from the advertisements. So they will run ads on my channel no matter what. It's just that I get 0%, right? So if you subscribe to this channel, instead of getting 0%, I would get, I think, 75%. So subscribe to my Doom channel. I haven't been doing many Doom runs over the last couple days. I've been working on some other projects. She's a black woman. Jenk wasn't listening. Well, it's very possible. Hey, But yeah, I mean, that's just, feel free to send me, or just tell me the name of the video or whatever, and I'll check it out when I have time. Goddamn Tyler is gone. I've seen a soundbite of Cenk Uygur defending bestiality, particularly with horses. I've seen that clip too. I think it's hilarious. I don't know if that's like a serious argument he was having, or if it was like one of, you know what people do online. They have like the logical super battles. I don't know if he seriously thinks that people should engage in bestiality, or if he's trying to play like a devil's advocate kind of argument, because I do that all the time. I love doing devil's advocate argumentation. But that's a funny ass clip. I'm not gonna lie, it's hilarious, and I love when right wingers talk about it all the time. Like whenever Cenk Uygur is correct on anything, right wingers will say, "Yeah, but bestiality, bro." And it's like, okay, well. Is Oliemi still on Rising? I don't know. I haven't seen her on Rising in a long time, but it's possible I'm missing it. I don't know. Anna will always have a bad take on the issue because of her experience with people with mental illnesses. What do you mean by that? Like, did someone who has, like, schizophrenia, like, rob her or something, and now she hates all schizophrenic people? I mean, it's just, thank God that the person who mugged her on the side of the street wasn't black, right? So, like, my God, right? If you're going to hate everyone with a certain mental illness because someone did something bad to you, thank God that that person wasn't black or an immigrant or whatever. Got lucky on that one. Prager likes incest. I would love to see that clip. All right, we're going to jump in. We got 2 movie reviews today, and by we, I mean me, of course. So the other day, I was scrolling through films and decided to watch a film. Hadn't seen it yet. I don't know how. I don't know why. I hadn't seen this one yet. So I watched this for the first time. Inglourious Basterds, a Quentin Tarantino film. And I gotta say, first of all, this movie, banger. It's a banger. Front to back. Start to finish. It's a banger. This is an excellent movie. So, if you haven't seen it yet, this is a movie where it's less about the story, so it's hard to spoil the movie per se. I mean, there's twists and turns and stuff, but this is one of those movies that's mostly a visual experience. Like, you're in this movie to just watch the scenes, to listen to the dialogue, right? So, feel free to let me spoil it for you if you want. But I highly recommend watching this movie. There's a lot of aspects of this movie that I enjoy. One of my favorite aspects of this movie is how this movie nerds out about movies, right? So there's several characters in the movie that are like film nerds, right? Now, again, obviously, based on the poster, if you don't know anything about this takes place during World War II, specifically in Nazi-occupied France, right? So, but like there's like characters that are just film nerds, and there's entire scenes where like the film nerds are just nerding out about like German expressionism and stuff like that, and it's great. That's the best part of the movie, right? So I love that. I love it's a movie, and then like it's a movie, but it's about movies, and then there's a movie within the movie, and it's just great. It's awesome. So if you like Tarantino movies, you will love this one. I don't know if this is the best Tarantino movie I've seen. My favorite still might be Pulp Fiction. Reservoir Dogs, also really good. But this one is up there. I mean, they're all, like, all of them that I've seen, excellent. So, but Inglourious Basterds, I love that it's bastard with an E, right? Because the main character, played by Brad Pitt, is a mountain man. He was raised in the mountains, so he doesn't know how to read or write too well. And so that's the whole reason why they call them the Bastards instead of the Bastards, right? Which is the proper spelling. But it's a group of, a lot of Jewish people. I think it's supposed to be mostly Jewish people that escaped the Nazis' control of Europe, and basically they're all just super good, soldiers. And what they do is they torture Nazis. That's the plot of the movie, right? So this movie is not like a historical piece, right? It's kind of like an alternate history kind of thing. But like not like a lot of World War II alternate history is like, what if the Nazis won? But this is a different take. This is, what if Jewish people just killed the fuck out of Nazis over and over and over again, and then also murdered Adolf Hitler in a giant fucking fireball explosion? Which, as far as alternate history of World War II, I mean, pretty good, okay? So, but I just spoiled the ending, by the way. Hitler gets killed. The actors in this movie, the acting, I should say, all of the acting in this movie, excellent. Now, I just want to say, I'm going to enter my favorite scenes portion of the show. My favorite scene in this film is when the bastards are meeting with British intelligence in order to, engage in a mission with the goal to execute, or, not necessarily execute, but just, get, kill, take out, however, whatever euphemism you want to use, big amounts of top brass in the Nazi party. And so they're meeting in a basement tavern, and that whole scene, I'm going to be honest, the intensity of that scene, holy shit, I love it. So they got the film nerd, and they got some of the bastards. So the film nerd is like a British spy, and he meets up with the bastards and another British spy, and they're discussing basically how to take out Adolf Hitler. But they're in a basement tavern, and it just so happens that a random group of Nazi soldiers is celebrating because one of them is becoming a parent, so they got the night off of being Nazis, I guess. So they're all getting drunk, and so they're trying to have like a spy meeting in this tavern with actual Nazis. Now they're all dressed up as Nazis, right? So they're LARPing, but then a Nazi officer enters, the room and tries to engage with them, and then it's like it's just it's an intense scene because it's like, personally, my favorite character in the film was the film nerd, who's a German-born British spy. Because, again, I loved their whole ranting and raving to Winston Churchill about, like, German expressionism. So that's my favorite character. He gets fucking murdered. He gets slaughtered in the scene. But, like, the way he goes out is excellent. But the whole scene, it's like fucking 5 to 10 minutes. It's a long-ass scene of just talking, right? And it's like, are they going to find out that they're spies? Yeah, oh my God. And it's great. It's fucking great. It's just great. It's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, it's a great movie. I gotta be honest, man. This movie, you gotta watch it. So another awesome aspect of this movie is, the Inglourious Basterds, their trademark is, what they do is they peel off the scalps of Nazis and collect them as trophies, right? So they leave a bunch of dead Nazis with missing scalps, And, one of the ways that they go about, spreading the fear within the Nazi party is they'll leave some of the Nazis behind alive, but they torture them. And their method of torture is by drawing a swastika into their forehead. Because as Brad Pitt's character says, after the war is over, you can take the uniform off, but I want to give you something you can't take off. And I love when every time he says that line, he says it the same way every time. And it's great, especially at the end when the so-called Jew hunter defects and, basically tries to join the Allies to take out the Nazis. And then he thinks he's going to get a sweet deal. He thinks, oh shit, okay, I defected, the Nazis lost, the war is over. But then Brad Pitt's character draws the swastika in his forehead at the end. God damn, that shit was excellent. This movie, again, I'm not going to start to finish. It's a powerhouse film. Like, this is a movie that I feel like could have been 3 hours longer, and it would have been just as good. This movie is excellent. I definitely want to buy this movie on physical media just to get special features. I don't know how many special features there are, but if there's even one deleted scene, I have to get this. This movie is so fun. Like, just the way, like, the whole, like, and it's not just physical torture, right? There is a lot of physical torture of Nazis, but it's a lot of mental torture, right? There's a scene where Adolf Hitler is interviewing a Nazi soldier that got the swastika in their forehead about what happened and info on the bastards, right? And Adolf Hitler is freaking the fuck out because he's losing the propaganda war, and he knows that this group called the Inglourious Basterds are fucking up the Nazis, and the Nazis' morale is being reduced. And so there's this scene where Adolf Hitler is freaking the fuck out, and he's like, "What are we gonna do about this? You can't tell anybody that these people are real. We got to pretend they're not real." And it's just great. I love the scene where the so-called bear Jew beats the shit out of that guy with the baseball bat. Fuck me, man. Like, I gotta be honest, this movie, fun to watch. Like, I feel like I could watch it again and it would be just as fun to watch. Like, there's never a moment where, like, torturing, again, mental and physical torture, a Nazi is not worth it. It's always worth it. Always. Nazis are not human beings. They have decided to turn in their human being card in favor of being monsters. They're zombies. They're monsters. They're evil. They're pure evil. And I don't say this when it comes to just, Nazis in World War II. I say this to Nazis in general. We got a lot of Nazis going around in modern day America and modern day, Earth. There's a lot of Nazis walking around. And again, what do you do when you see a Nazi? Physical and mental torture. Now, again, we're in this weird position right now where the United States government likes to defend Nazis. I disagree with that. My opinion is once you become a Nazi, you have forfeited your right to be a human. That's my opinion. But again, politics aside, on a very political movie, this movie is fucking great. This movie is fucking great. So the second story, where the thing about this movie is it's called Inglourious Basterds, right? But the group called the Bastards are not like, I don't know if you were to develop if you were to analyze every scene, I don't know if they would even be in the 50% territory of the movie, because another part of the movie takes place where a Jewish woman who escaped the Nazis, she changes her identity and she gets a movie theater, and then the Nazis move their occupation deeper into France, and then you have this Nazi soldier who's like the star of a movie who's trying to flirt with this bitch because he thinks he's like a superstar and he can get anyone that he wants. And so this bitch, I use bitch very nicely in this term. It's a term of endearment. Who owns the cinema, is basically forced by the Nazis, because you can't say no to a Nazi, right? You just, they're going to kill you, right? So she's basically forced to host a screening of this Nazis movie, and the Nazis movie is about their real, I don't think it's a real event, or it might be inspired by a real historical event, but in the world of the movie, they were in a bird's nest or whatever, and they killed 30 Allied forces and then got extracted, and then Goebbels made a movie about it for the propaganda purposes. And that's another part of this movie that I really enjoyed, is how in-depth they describe the Goebbels propaganda ministry mission, the goal. They show a lot of scenes where Goebbels is specifically railing against German expressionism, Jewish films and all, whatever the fuck, right? All that garbage. And it's just great because that, you know, again, think about it. Movies in the 1930s and 40s, this is a new thing. This is a new thing, right? Movies had, like, in the 20s is really when movies started to be a thing, right? So, you know, it's a new medium. It's a new kind of art. And so the idea of, like, just being able, like, someone was almost able to just control an entire art form. Just imagine if all music was being controlled by one motherfucker who's a Nazi. Like, that's crazy ass shit, right? So anyway, they do a lot of really good showcases of this guy's insanity when it comes to propaganda. So anyway, this woman is forced to host a Nazi movie screening at her cinema, and she has the plan to destroy them. She has a plan to kill them all, lock them in the cinema, and burn the whole thing down. And so this is all happening. The thing I love about this movie, is that there's the two stories. There's the bastards, right, that are grouping up with spies to try to take out the Nazi officials at this cinema party, and then there's the cinema owner who also wants to take them out, but they don't know each other. They don't know that the other group exists. So there's two groups in this movie, and there's about 50-50 on the screen time. There's two groups in this movie that are trying to do the same thing, and they're not working together. And so that's what makes the ending scene so incredible, because you have the bastards, right? They're in the movie theater. They've got bombs and guns, right? And they're ready to fuck up the Nazis, right? But then, right, the person who owns the cinema locks all the Nazis in the auditorium, and there's this scene where the bastards have, like, machine guns, and they're firing down from, like, the fucking opera box or whatever it is, like the balcony. They're just firing down on the Nazis. Oh, God. Yo, I gotta tell you, man, this fucking movie is great. You gotta love it. And again, they burned down the cinema by using nitrate film. You know, a lot of early movies were made with film, you know, and the quality of the film and the material that they used in the film is extremely flammable. That's what they had back then. That was the cheapest and most effective way to get film back then. And there's this really funny part where Samuel L. Jackson pops out of nowhere and does, like, a narrated voiceover to explain what nitrate film is. Because, you know, if you're not a movie nerd, you don't know what the fuck that is. So it's just, I love it. So then they burn down the whole thing with all the movies. Now, again, on a lost art perspective, you know, don't burn down the movies, please. But it is made up. They made this up, right? Those movies aren't real, right? You know, because they're making a movie, so they didn't actually burn any movies. But I love the idea that they used movies. They burned film to, you know, kill the Nazis who were trying to use film as propaganda. It's great. It's great. It's great. I mean, this movie is great. I don't even know what to tell you. It's fucking great, okay? Watch this movie. If you haven't seen it, I can tell you, Adolf Hitler dies at the end, right? Who cares? Right? Why? Because this movie's fucking great. You gotta watch it. Adolf Hitler dies at the end. Watch it. I mean, I don't you know, it's a great movie. I don't know what to tell you. Oh, man. But again, my favorite scene is the basement tavern. That whole thing was excellent. And again, fuck the Nazis up. It's a good theme. So Quentin Tarantino does it again, and Inglourious Basterds, it's a banger. It's a banger. So it's a banger. There you go. Go watch it. Goddamn. Send me what? I just read something that I did not know existed. Al Pacino as a Nazi hunter on Amazon Prime. It was pretty interesting. I just never... What? Al Pacino as a Nazi hunter. I gotta look this up, motherfucker. What the fuck? Hunters. Holy shit. Well, looks like I got something to watch. There you go. Oh, you have it, Fun P? Well, don't worry about it. But I appreciate it. I'll get the P.O. box, but I gotta do it on my own time. All right, I got another movie I want to review here. So, last night, I watched a film, and it's a good film, and I enjoyed it. It's called Falling Down, and I gotta tell you, It's a banger. It's a banger. I've seen this movie before. This is my second time watching this movie. And I gotta say, it's a good fucking movie. It's one of those movies that's like, again, you can't really spoil it because the plot is not really the important part. It's like how the plot rolls, like how the events happen, how they play on screen. That's the important part. I can tell you that everyone dies at the end, and it wouldn't affect your ability to enjoy this movie. That's not true, though. Everyone does not die at the end. But anyway, Michael Douglas plays someone who used to work for the Department of Defense, and he basically just goes crazy. He goes crazy, and he's trying to like walk. He's trying to walk basically all across like Los Angeles or wherever it is to his ex-wife and daughter's home because it's the daughter's birthday. And so he gets stuck in traffic. Now again, the opening scene to this movie where he is stuck in traffic, right? And then you have like the fly or the mosquito like going around the car, right? You have like people like making noise, right? You have like, it's just like, it shows like, it zooms in on like the fucking, detour sign. It's just every part of the opening to this movie, I gotta say, excellent. This movie is excellent, okay? Falling motherfucking down. I love this movie. So essentially this guy, he snaps, he breaks down, and he's like, all right, I'm getting out of my car, and I'm just going to my daughter's birthday. I'm not driving there. He's stuck in traffic, and so he walks like 10 miles or something, like across like the entire city. And throughout that whole thing, he stops by the first part of the movie is he stops by at a convenience store because he needs money for a payphone to go harass his ex-wife. So he goes to the convenience store and he asks for change. The convenience store owner is like, you have to buy something for change, right? And so it's like all the microaggressions of a capitalist society are like amplified, right? Like that's this movie at its core, is every small microaggression that you experience navigating through this capitalist fucking hellhole that we live in is just like, right? It's the most annoying thing in the world. And again, the scene, by the way, when Michael Douglas is in the convenience store and he grabs the can of Coca-Cola and like rubs it on his face. Oh God, that was so good. So anyway, the owner of the convenience store is charging him, in his opinion, too much money. So he freaks out. He, engages in a fight with the convenience store owner and basically just tells him to lower his prices. Now, again, the convenience store owner is an immigrant, right? He's trying to make ends meet, right? It's not his fault that we live in a terrible fucking society, right? So, but again, like the point of this movie is that this guy is just, he is the insert for the rage of America, right? This is, I don't even know what to say. This is an anti-capitalist movie, pretty much. It's an anti-capitalist movie. Now, again, it's not a perfect movie. There's a lot of really, I wouldn't, but it's an early 90s film. What are you going to do? So then he's walking around. He's got this Coca-Cola. He's harassing his ex-wife every time he can on the phone. The ex-wife is calling the cops, and the cops are not taking her seriously, which is, again, another one of my favorite aspects of this movie, is that the cops in this movie are useless fucking garbage can mans, right? Or men, but that doesn't rhyme with can. But anyway, right, so the ex-wife is like, my ex-husband, who I have a restraining order against, is threatening me on the phone over and over and over again, right? And the cops show up and they don't take her seriously. Like the cops are like gaslighting the shit out of her. Like she has a restraining order and the cops are like questioning if she needs a restraining order, questioning it. Like the cops are in this movie are horrible, except there's the one good cop, and played by with Robert Duvall, I think. And the one good cop, he's on his last day. He's retiring at the end of the day. And his last day, he tracks down Michael Douglas. And then, that's the end of the movie. But every other cop in this movie is a piece of garbage. And I think it's a realistic portrayal of how cops are fucking trash. Like, cops are garbage in this movie. They're just like, they're just like pig-headed. They're just fucking up their own ass. They don't actually care about anyone, right? And it's realistic. Is realistic. So anyway, my favorite part of this movie, probably outside of the artsy shit, like the opening scene where like he's in the traffic. One of my favorite parts of this movie is when he kills the Nazi. So there's this Nazi guy at like a thrift store or pawn shop, whatever. It's not really specified. maybe it's a military hardware store. I don't know. And he's listening to the police scanner, and he recognized like the guy with the with the white shirt and tie with a gym bag full of guns walk in. He recognizes him and thinks that oh, he's a fellow Nazi. So he protects him from the police and then invites him into his Nazi den. And then Michael Douglas's character, I mean, he's crazy. He's a violent psychopath, right? But he's not a Nazi. And the Nazi is like, over the top. Like, we're talking about, like, this Nazi is so uncomfortably realistic. Like, these are, like, this guy, like, he's got a collection of, like, World War II memorabilia. And he's, like, saying, like, I wonder, he's got, like, this gas canister that was used at concentration camps. And he's like, oh, I wonder how many Jewish people were killed with this. And he's, like, excited. And then Michael Douglas is like, this guy is fucking crazy. So then he fucking kills this guy. Now, I want to submit to you my fan theory about Falling Down. How many people in this movie does Michael Douglas kill? Think about it. 2 people. He kills 2 people. Himself, at the end, spoiler alert, and a Nazi. I present to you, racism aside, he's a little racist at the beginning part of the movie with the convenience store owner. Okay. Bad, not perfect. He's a flawed human being. I present to you, Michael Douglas is the good guy. Again, how many people does he kill? 2. Himself and a Nazi. That's it. Now, hey, I'm just saying, not bad, okay? Not bad. But anyway, obviously, I'm tongue-in-cheek. He's garbage, and the way he harasses his family is evil. But, I'm just having a little fun with it. But I just love this movie. I love the part where he's at the fucking, like, the whammy burger or whatever, and he, like, pulls out the gun and accidentally shoots the ceiling because he doesn't know, like, how to use guns or whatever. He got, like, a bunch of guns because, like, gangsters tried to kill him, but they failed epically and blew their car up, and then, like, for whatever reason, the bag of guns is just, like, he walks up and grabs it. This movie is silly. Like, this is a very unrealistic film, obviously, but it's just funny. It's great. It's extremely entertaining to watch. And I recommend it, Falling Down. In my opinion, it's an anti-capitalist movie. It's a critique of how we structure our society. And every character is flawed. Every character, is not perfect. And, I think there's a little bit in this movie for anyone that could watch. And Falling Down. I don't have much else to say about it. I just thought it was great. Really fun to watch. And there you go. So, bada boom. All right, we're entering the second phase of QCOC, folks. So if you got anything for me, let me know. Keith S., I can't believe you didn't mention the first scene with the family under the floorboards in Inglourious Basterds. Yeah, I mean, it's a great scene. I agree with you. I don't know if it's my favorite. My favorite's the tavern scene, but it is a great scene. I agree with you on that one. I used to show this in a group therapy day on Fridays when I worked in... What? This? What is this? Falling Down or something else? QCOC. QCOC. He kills the old guy who has a heart attack. Fake news. That guy killed himself. Oh, I forgot to mention the golf course rant. Fuck. Yeah, the golf course rant in Falling Down when he's walking through the golf courses. And he's complaining, like, this could be, like, a picnic, family picnic area. Kids could be playing here. Like, damn, that shit was great. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Lindsay, for the specification. Because, yeah, when I read chat messages, like, minutes later, the context is gone. So... that's the show. Maximum Overdrive? No? Do you plan on watching any new TV shows? Well, now that Better Call Saul is over, I don't think that there's nothing on my radar at this moment. Until like Westworld comes back. And now you're gonna die with that funny little hat. Oh, it's great. It's great. But yes, I will be back tomorrow. To my understanding, tomorrow is Friday. I'm not sure. That's to my understanding. I could be wrong. You're the only person I know that can get into Westworld. That's because I have a high IQ. Westworld is a high IQ show. I mean, it's just that simple. And I like it. You know, a lot of shows, they can have, like, intelligent aspects to it. Like, I consider, like, Breaking Bad, right, as an example, has a lot of high IQ plot points and, you know, cinematography. But, like, the way that the story is presented is that dumber people can get into it, right? And my example is people didn't like Better Call Saul because it didn't have enough guns. So they go from Breaking Bad to Better Call Saul, which is way better, by the way. Better Call Saul is way better than Breaking Bad. They continue the skill onward, right? It's just an improvement. But, oh, those are lawyers, man. Where are the guns, right? Those are the low IQ. That's the chaff. Cut them out. Westworld is a show where they don't care. Like, if you're dumb, if you don't get it, fuck you. Try it again in a couple years. That's my opinion on Westworld. If you're dumb, you don't get it, you don't understand it, it's all good. Try it again in a couple years, and maybe you'll understand it. Westworld is amazing. Westworld, God, I fucking love Westworld, man. Holy shit. God, Westworld is fucking great. Westworld is fucking great. Westworld has a shitload of booba. Realign, like so much booba, your head is gonna spin like a top. Even reviewers I really like can't seem to get it. Like, hey, low IQ. It's all good. I'm not, I don't want to be, I love the poorly educated, right? It's just that not everything is made for them, right? Like Westworld, it doesn't fuck around. It's made for people that can understand it. If you can't understand it, you're not going to like the show. And I can say, having watched every episode of it once, I'm down to watch the whole thing again. I'm sure that I can get a lot more information out of it the second watch. But I understood the show the first time. That shit's great. So that's my opinion on Westworld. It's excellent, and I'm excited for it to come back. Bullet Train is on Netflix, by the way. I don't know what that is. Have you seen the film The Autopsy of Jane Doe? I might have. Let me look it up. No. I've heard of this, but I haven't seen it. Live and Die in LA. It's an anti-cop movie. Excellent. I was shocked at how much full frontal nudity they allowed. Definitely a Boing Boing show. I mean, hey, I will say this. Westworld, you got titties. Everyone loves titties, right? But also, you got cocks. They're, like, out the wazoo. Like, that scene in Westworld where they're in, like, the fucking... they're in, like, the basement with all the motherfuckers, and you're just seeing, like, the camera pans out, and you're seeing, like, 40 dicks at once. I mean, my God, right? Like, I mean, it's a good show. High IQ. It's that simple. I mean... Oh, Christ almighty. So, anyway, that's my show. I got nothing else. I got nothing else. I got nothing else. Now, I will say, to weigh in on the drama in the chat between Rialan and Johnny Too Late, I don't mind. It's a ratio. This is my take on nudity in films. It's a ratio. If the only nudity in film is titties, It's gratuitous. It's lame. It's the male gaze. It's sexism. 100%. I agree. Now, again, I love titties. I'm a titty fan, okay? That all being said, but if a movie provides all sorts of, interesting body parts, shall we say, then it's a win. You can have 98 trillion different titties as long as there's a couple of dicks in there that, I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there. And that's what Westworld is. It's egalitarian, right? You like titties, you're in. You like anything else, you're also in. They don't alienate any sorts of the audience, right? So, I need to watch The Boys. What is The Boys? I like boys. I made some bomb-ass brownies, and I can't stop eating them. This is why they don't contain cannabis. I'd be the first to OD on weed. Man, I remember one time I thought I OD'd on weed. I fucking passed the fuck out. I was like, oh, and I woke up like fucking 18 hours later. I was like, yep, I'm dead. I'm gonna die. Where they enter a man's dick. It sounds like I gotta watch The Boys. It's a scene of Maximum Overdrive where a steamroller comes alive and plows over people and a Pepsi machine shoots out sodas killing people. Check it out. Oh, sounds good. All right. That's all I got. I gotta use the bathroom. So, bye-bye!
It's not a fetish. It's not a fetish. That's a term like I just love information.
$7 million for reef fish management, $25 billion to combat Asian carp, $2.5 billion to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico.
Force the vote, sure, was a failure.
Running against the worst candidate in the history of presidential politics puts pressure on me. Can you imagine if I lose my whole life? What am I going to do? I'm going to say, I lost to the worst candidate in the history of politics. I'm not going to feel so good. Maybe I'll have to leave the country. I don't know. And then they have cans of soup. And they throw the cans of soup. That's better than a brick because you can't throw a brick, it's too heavy. But a can of soup, you can really put some power into that, right? And then when they get caught, they say, no, this is soup from my family. They're so innocent. This is soup from my family. It's incredible. And you have people coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup, and they lay it on the ground, and the anarchists take it, and they start throwing it at our cops, at our police. And if it hits you, that's worse than a brick because it's got force. It's the perfect size. It's like made perfect. And when they get caught, they say, no, this is just soup for my family.